The deep hum of the USS Trailblazer's engines filled the command deck as Captain John Miller stared at the main screen. The ship had been patrolling the outer edge of the solar system for 3 months. It was routine work, but John never tired of the endless black dotted with distant stars. "Captain, we're picking up something unusual," said Lieutenant Sam Harrison from his station. His fingers moved quickly across the control panel. "It's not a comet or asteroid. The object is maintaining a steady course." John walked over to Sam's station. "Show me." The screen displayed a small metallic object, perfectly smooth and oval-shaped. It reflected the distant sunlight in a way no natural object would. "It's artificial," John said, "and definitely not one of ours." Dr. Olivia Grant entered the command deck, her eyes wide with excitement. As the ship's xenobiologist and first contact specialist, she had been waiting for this moment her entire career. "Is it true? Have we found something?" she asked, moving quickly to join them. John nodded. "Looks that way. Sam, what's it doing now?" "It's changing course, sir. It's coming toward us." The crew watched in silence as the object approached. Their ship. It stopped a safe distance away and hovered there. "It's sending out a signal," said the communications officer. "I've never seen a pattern like this before." Olivia leaned forward. "May I?" The officer nodded and moved aside. Olivia studied the signal pattern. "It's definitely a communication attempt. The pattern repeats with slight variations, suggesting a language structure." For the next 3 days, Olivia worked with the ship's computer to decode the message. The crew was on edge, excited but nervous about their first contact with an alien intelligence. When Olivia finally returned to the command deck, she looked tired but happy. "I've figured it out," she said. "It's an invitation. The probe was sent by a species that calls themselves the Voidwalkers. They want to meet us." Within a week, the news had spread across Earth and its colonies on Mars and Europa. The United Government called an emergency session to decide how to respond. In a large meeting room at United Government headquarters, representatives from Earth and its colonies gathered to hear about the alien message. "The Voidwalkers claim to be peaceful explorers," Olivia explained to the crowded room. "They say they've been watching us for some time and believe we're ready for contact. They're offering friendship and technological exchange." Admiral Eric Powell, the head of Earth's Defense Force, stood up. "This could be the greatest opportunity in human history. Imagine what we could learn from them." Sam Harrison, who had been invited as part of the Trailblazer crew, raised his hand. "With all due respect, Admiral, shouldn't we proceed with caution? We know nothing about these aliens or their true intentions." The Admiral frowned. "Of course we'll take precautions, Lieutenant, but we can't let fear hold us back from this historic opportunity." The debate continued for hours. Some voiced concerns about moving too quickly, but most were excited by the possibilities. In the end, the United Government voted to accept the invitation and establish communication with the Voidwalkers. 2 months later, the first Voidwalker ship entered Earth's orbit. It was massive, at least 3 times the size of Earth's largest spaceship. Its surface shimmered with an iridescent material unlike anything humans had created. The first meeting took place on a neutral space station. John, Olivia, and Sam were part of the welcoming committee. They watched as the airlock opened and 3 tall, slender beings entered. The Voidwalkers had pale blue skin that seemed to glow from within. Their eyes were large and completely black, and they moved with a fluid grace that made them seem almost weightless. "Welcome," said the lead human diplomat. "We are honored by your presence." The tallest Voidwalker stepped forward. "I am Krell, spokesman for the Voidwalkers. We have journeyed far to meet you. We believe our peoples have much to offer each other." Over the next few hours, the humans and Voidwalkers exchanged information about their cultures and histories. The aliens were remarkably open, sharing stories of their home planet and their journeys through space. When Olivia asked about other alien species, Krell's expression grew solemn. "We have encountered many civilizations in our travels," he said. "Some, like yours, were curious and peaceful. Others were not. There is one species in particular that you should be aware of. We call them the Harvesters." Krell explained that The harvesters were a predatory species that moved from planet to planet, using up resources and leaving destruction in their wake. They destroyed many civilizations we had befriended, Krell said. We have been working to protect younger species from their aggression. Are they a threat to Earth? John asked. Not immediately, Krell replied, but they are always expanding their territory. We can offer you defensive technology that would help protect your people if they ever reach this sector. Later, as the human delegation discussed the meeting privately, opinions were divided. Their offer seems generous, John said. But why would an advanced species be so willing to share their technology with us? Olivia was reviewing her notes. They seemed genuinely concerned about these harvesters. Perhaps they're looking for allies. Or they have other motives we don't understand yet, Sam said. His years in tactical operations had taught him to look for hidden agendas. I think we should take more time before accepting their help. Admiral Powell disagreed. Every day we delay is a day we remain vulnerable. If these harvesters are as dangerous as the Voidwalkers claim, we need that defensive technology now. Over the next few weeks, meetings continued. The Voidwalkers offered increasingly impressive technological insights as a show of good faith. They demonstrated energy systems far more efficient than anything humans had developed, and medical techniques that could cure diseases human doctors still struggled with. The United Government was impressed. Despite the concerns raised by Sam and a few others, they voted to proceed with a full alliance. Earth would gain access to Voidwalker technology, and in return, the aliens would be allowed to study Earth's unique biological diversity, which, they claimed, was rare in the galaxy. As the alliance was formalized in a grand ceremony, John watched from the sidelines with an uneasy feeling. The Voidwalkers had provided everything they promised, yet something felt wrong. You're still worried, Olivia said, joining him. John nodded. They're giving us so much, and asking for relatively little in return. In my experience, when something seems too good to be true. It usually is, Sam finished, walking up behind them. But we're just 3 people against the excitement of an entire planet. All we can do now is stay alert and hope we're wrong. As the ceremony concluded with thunderous applause, none of them noticed the small smile on spokesman Krell's face as he watched the celebration. The warnings had been given, but human pride pushed them forward anyway. Just as planned. 6 months after first contact, Earth had changed. Voidwalker ships were now a common sight in the skies. Their embassy stood in the center of New Washington, a gleaming tower of materials that seemed to shift colors with the changing light. Smaller outposts had been established on Mars, where the aliens claimed the environment was more comfortable for them. Dr. Diane Wright carefully placed a sample of Voidwalker tissue under her microscope. As one of Earth's top geneticists, she had been given permission to study the alien biology. What she saw made her frown. She adjusted the settings, then checked again. That's strange, she muttered to herself. The cells were behaving in a way that contradicted what the Voidwalkers had told them about their biology. She made careful notes, then locked the samples away. Across the hall, a team of engineers was examining a piece of Voidwalker propulsion technology. Admiral Powell watched with pride as they took measurements and drew diagrams. This will advance our space program by at least a century, he said to the engineer beside him. We'll have ships capable of reaching nearby star systems within the year. The engineer nodded but looked troubled. Yes, sir. Though I have to say, they haven't fully explained how the energy containment works. We're installing systems we don't completely understand. Powell waved away his concern. That's why we're studying them. We'll figure it out. On Mars, Lieutenant Sam Harrison walked the perimeter of the main Voidwalker outpost. As head of security for the human section of the colony, it was his job to make sure everything ran smoothly. Lately, though, things had not been smooth at all. Another disappearance? John Miller asked when Sam called him that evening. John had been promoted to oversee human Voidwalker relations, which meant many late nights discussing problems. Yes, the 3rd this month, Sam said. A technician was scheduled to work in Section 7 but never showed up. The Voidwalkers say she never entered their facility, but the entry logs show her badge was scanned. John rubbed his tired eyes. What did they say when you showed them the logs? That's the strange part, Krell suggested our system might be malfunctioning. When I went back to check, the log entry was gone. John frowned. That's not possible unless someone changed it. Exactly, Sam replied. And guess who has access to our security systems now? The same Voidwalkers who insisted we adopt their more advanced security protocols. After they ended the call, John walked to the window of his apartment and looked out at the Voidwalker embassy in the distance. Their technology had brought amazing changes. New medicines were curing previously fatal diseases. Their clean energy systems had replaced polluting power plants, and their agricultural techniques had ended food shortages in many regions. Yet something felt increasingly wrong. Reports of strange incidents near Voidwalker facilities were growing. Dr. Grant had noticed the aliens becoming less open about their activities, and Diane Wright had called yesterday, asking to meet privately about something she couldn't discuss over regular channels. The next morning, John met Diane in a small coffee shop far from the embassy. I've been studying their cellular structure, she said quietly. It doesn't match what they've told us about themselves. Their cells have adaptive properties I've never seen before, almost as if what? John prompted when she hesitated. As if they're designed to modify themselves based on exposure to other biological material. She slid a data chip across the table. I've documented everything here. But there's more. The biological samples they've been collecting, they're being used for some kind of testing. I managed to access one of their labs when they thought no one was around. John pocketed the chip. Have you told anyone else? I tried telling my department head. He reported me to Powell, who suggested I was overworked and needed a vacation. Her laugh was bitter. Then my lab access was restricted. They said it was a routine security update. As they left the coffee shop, neither noticed the small drone hovering nearby, recording their conversation. 2 days later, the Mars colony reported unusual activity. Paul Bennett, the colony administrator, sent an urgent message to Earth. Something's wrong with the colonists who work closest with the Voidwalkers, he reported. They're showing strange behaviors, defending alien actions that make no sense, forgetting incidents that others witnessed. It's like they're being influenced somehow. When John brought these concerns to the United Government Council, he found himself facing Admiral Powell and several other officials who had become strong supporters of the alliance. These are isolated incidents being blown out of proportion, Powell said dismissively. Change always brings adjustment problems. The benefits of this alliance far outweigh these minor issues. Minor issues? Sam had accompanied John to the meeting. Sir, people are disappearing. We have investigated every case, Powell replied coldly. Most were simple misunderstandings or personnel who left their posts without proper notification. There is nothing to suggest the Voidwalkers are involved. After the meeting, spokesman Krell approached John in the hallway. The Voidwalker moved, with that unsettling fluid grace, his black eyes revealing nothing. Captain Miller, I understand you have concerns about our presence here. Just doing my job, John replied carefully, ensuring our alliance works smoothly for everyone. Of course, Krell's voice was smooth. But perhaps you are looking for problems where none exist. We have given you much, have we not? Your people are advancing more quickly than any species we have encountered. It would be unfortunate if misunderstandings interfered with this progress. Something in the way he said unfortunate made John's skin crawl. That night, John received an encrypted message from an unknown source. It directed him to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Against his better judgment, but driven by growing suspicion, he went. Inside, he found Sam, Olivia, Diane, and several others he recognized as people who had raised questions about the Voidwalkers. With them was a stranger wearing a hood that concealed their face. Who are you? John asked. The figure lowered its hood, revealing a face that was neither human nor Voidwalker. The being was small, with gray-green skin and large, expressive eyes. My name is not pronounceable in your language, the alien said. I am what remains of a species that once trusted the ones you call Voidwalkers. We have been watching from your asteroid belt, and we cannot stay silent any longer. The alien's eyes were filled with what looked like sorrow. "The warnings are there if you would see them. Your pride blinds you just as ours once did." "What warnings?" Olivia asked. "The Voidwalkers are not what they claim," the alien said. "They are the Harvesters." The warehouse fell silent after the alien's words. John Miller stared at the small gray-green being, trying to process what he had just heard. "You're saying the Voidwalkers are the same species they warned us about?" Olivia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The alien nodded. "They have used this deception many times before. They arrive as friends, offering technology and protection against a made-up enemy. Then, when the host civilization has grown dependent on their technology, they reveal their true nature." "Why should we believe you?" Sam asked, though his expression showed he already suspected the truth. "I am the last of my kind," the alien said. "My people called themselves the Nyari. Our planet was rich in resources and life, much like yours. The Voidwalkers came to us just as they came to you. They said they were peaceful explorers. They warned us about dangerous harvesters. We welcomed them." The alien's large eyes seemed to grow distant with painful memories. "Within 2 years, our civilization was gone. They used the technology they gave us to disable our defenses. The biosamples they collected helped them create diseases that affected only our species. When they finally dropped their disguise, we could not fight back." John thought about the missing people, the strange behavior of those working closely with the Voidwalkers, and Diane's discoveries about their biology. "How did you survive?" he asked. "A small group of us escaped during the final attack. We have been hiding in the shadows of space, watching for their next target. When they came here, we followed. We hoped to warn you before it was too late." Diane spoke up. "The biological samples they're collecting, I found evidence they're testing for weaknesses in human immune systems." The alien nodded. "That is their way. They study each species to learn how best to defeat it." "We need to take this to the United Government," John said. Sam shook his head. "They won't listen. Powell and his supporters control the council now. Anyone who questions the Voidwalkers is labeled a conspiracy theorist or removed from their position." "Then we need proof that no one can ignore," Olivia said. The next day, Lisa Cooper, a journalist known for her investigative reporting, received an anonymous package. It contained files showing irregularities in Voidwalker activities, unusual energy readings from their facilities, discrepancies in their statements about their biology, and records of people who had gone missing after questioning. The aliens Lisa spent days verifying the information. She spoke with workers who had seen strange things at Voidwalker facilities and with scientists who had noticed problems with the alien technology. Many were afraid to speak openly, but they confirmed what the files suggested. Something was very wrong with Earth's alien allies. When her story was published, the response was immediate. The United Government called it dangerous misinformation and threatened to revoke her press credentials. Admiral Powell appeared on news broadcasts to reassure the public that the alliance was beneficial for humanity. "These wild accusations threaten the greatest opportunity humans have ever had," he said. "The Voidwalkers have brought us medicine, clean energy, and defenses against threats from space. Why would they do that if they meant us harm?" But the story had planted seeds of doubt. More people began asking questions. Some started noticing strange patterns in the behavior of friends or family members who worked closely with the aliens. On Europa, Paul Bennett sent an urgent encrypted message to John. The colony's communication systems had been upgraded with Voidwalker technology months ago, and now they were experiencing technical difficulties that isolated them from Earth. "Half my staff is acting strange," his message said. "They defend everything the Voidwalkers do, even when it makes no sense. Yesterday, 3 colonists tried to enter a restricted alien facility. When security stopped them, they couldn't explain why they were there or even remember trying to enter." Similar reports began coming from Mars. People were showing signs of mental manipulation. They would follow instructions they later couldn't remember receiving. Some became aggressive when anyone questioned the Voidwalkers. John arranged another secret meeting with the Nyari survivor, who had taken the name Zix for easier communication with humans. How are they controlling people? John asked. Their technology includes subtle influence devices, Zix explained. The communication systems, the medical devices, even some of their building materials emit signals that affect brain function. The effects build slowly so no one notices until it's too late. That's why people who work closest with them change first, Olivia realized. Zix nodded. And why they pushed so hard to have their technology adopted everywhere. Each device extends their influence. Armed with this information, John's group began a careful resistance. They replaced Voidwalker communication devices with human technology in their own homes and workplaces. They shared information through old computer systems that had never been upgraded with alien tech. They gathered evidence and built a network of people who remained free from alien influence. They found an unexpected ally in General Frank Martinez, an old-school military officer who had always distrusted the Voidwalkers and had refused to allow their technology in his command centers. My father taught me never to rely on something I didn't understand, he told John when they met at a secure location. These aliens show up with miracle technology that no one can explain. That's not charity, that's a Trojan horse. Martinez had maintained a small force equipped only with human technology. Not as fancy as Powell's alien-enhanced units, he said, but I trust it. As their resistance group grew, they discovered more disturbing facts. Chief Engineer Karen Phillips found evidence of backdoors in all Voidwalker technology that would allow the aliens to shut down or control any system they had provided. They could disable our entire defense grid with one signal, she explained. Dr. Grant analyzed communications between Voidwalker ships and found coded messages discussing harvest, preparation, and specimen processing. Then came the most alarming news. Diane Wright discovered that the medical treatments the Voidwalkers had provided for several human diseases actually contained compounds that would make humans more susceptible to certain toxins. Toxins that matched chemical signatures found in Voidwalker weapon systems. They're not curing us, she said grimly. They're preparing us. The evidence was overwhelming, but when they tried to present it to the United Government, they found their access blocked. Secretary William Davis, once a voice of caution about the alliance, now refused to meet with them. Other officials who might have listened were suddenly unavailable or openly hostile. They've already compromised the government, Sam said during an emergency meeting of their resistance. We're running out of time. That night, as John looked up at the stars from the window of their hidden base, he saw new lights appearing in the sky. Dozens of them, then hundreds. The Voidwalker fleet was growing. Zix stood beside him, watching the lights multiply. They're calling in their harvest ships, the alien said quietly. The warnings were clear, but they believe you are already defeated. John's jaw tightened. They're wrong. Humans don't give up that easily. The morning sky over New Washington filled with Voidwalker ships. They no longer bothered to hide their numbers. Hundreds of vessels hovered above major cities around the world, their sleek shapes casting long shadows on the ground below. In the eye, United Government Building, Admiral Powell stared at the monitors in shock. This was not what the Voidwalkers had promised. There were supposed to be only a few additional research vessels arriving, not an entire fleet. Get me spokesman Krell immediately, he ordered his staff. When the alien appeared on the screen, Powell noticed something different. Krell's usually pleasant expression was gone, replaced by cold efficiency. What is the meaning of this? Powell demanded. Your fleet movements were not approved by our government. Krell tilted his head. Approval is no longer required, Admiral. The integration phase is complete. We are now moving to collection. Collection? What are you talking about? Your species has provided excellent biological samples and has successfully integrated our technology into all your systems. You have served your purpose well. Powell's face paled as understanding dawned. You lied to us. You are the harvesters. Of course, Krell replied calmly. This strategy has proven effective across many worlds. Your people were particularly eager to accept our gifts. Your pride in your progress blinded you to the obvious signs. Powell reached for the emergency alert button, but nothing happened when he pressed it. He tried the communication panel next, but it too was dead. Your systems now respond only to us, Krell explained. The technology you so eagerly adopted includes control mechanisms. Everything you built with our help now serves us. Across the planet, similar scenes played out. Human defense systems shut down. Communication networks went silent or broadcast only Voidwalker messages. Transport systems stopped. And in hospitals, people who had received the aliens' medical treatments began to fall ill with the same symptoms. At the Resistance headquarters, hidden in an old military bunker that had never been upgraded with alien technology, John Miller and his team watched the chaos unfold on old-style monitors. "It's happening faster than we expected," Sam said grimly. "They're making their move." General Martinez entered the room, his face grim. "My units report Voidwalker ships landing in major cities. They're deploying some kind of harvest teams. People are being rounded up." "What about our countermeasures?" John asked. "We've disconnected as many systems as we could from their network, but it's not enough," Karen Phillips replied. "They control too much of our infrastructure, and their ships are protected by defense fields we can't penetrate with our weapons." Olivia looked up from her communication panel. "We've lost contact with the Europa colony. Mars reports they're under direct attack." The room fell silent as the weight of the situation sank in. Humanity had welcomed the Voidwalkers, eagerly accepted their technology, and ignored all warnings. Now they were paying the price. "We're not beaten yet," John said firmly. "Zix, you said your people fought back. How?" The small alien stepped forward. "Too late and with too little. But we discovered something important. Their biology has a weakness. A specific radiation frequency disrupts their cellular structure. It prevents them from adapting and absorbing other life forms." "Can we weaponize that?" Martinez asked. "Possibly," Dr. Grant said. "But we'd need to get close to their ships or command centers to deploy it effectively." John turned to Karen. "What about the old space vessels? The ones that were never upgraded with Voidwalker tech?" "There are a few in the lunar depot," she replied. "Basic models, but they still work. The aliens didn't bother replacing them because they seemed obsolete compared to the new ships." John nodded. "Sometimes old and simple is better than new and complicated. We need to get to those ships." While they formed their plan, the situation outside grew worse. Cities fell under Voidwalker control one by one. Secretary William Davis appeared on broadcast channels, urging humans to cooperate with the aliens. "This transition is for our own good," he said, his eyes strangely blank. "The Voidwalkers will preserve the best of humanity while removing the elements that hold us back." But not everyone was willing to surrender. Across the planet, people who had heeded the warnings and avoided alien technology formed pockets of resistance. They used old weapons and communication devices the Voidwalkers couldn't control. They disrupted alien harvest operations and helped others escape. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Powell sat alone in his office on the flagship of Earth's defense fleet. Everything around him, the ships, the weapons, the communication systems, had been built with Voidwalker help. Now it all answered to them instead of him. He thought about John Miller and the others who had tried to warn him. He had called them paranoid, had them removed from their positions, silenced their concerns. His pride in the advancements he'd overseen had blinded him to the obvious trap. With a heavy heart, he recorded one final message on an old emergency transmitter that still worked. "To any humans still fighting, you were right. I was wrong. The Voidwalkers control everything. We built with their help, but our older technology might still work against them. Don't make the same mistake I did. Don't trust anything they touched." He sent the message just before Voidwalker soldiers entered his office. Back at the Resistance base, John received Powell's message with grim satisfaction. "At least he finally sees the truth," he said. "Now we need to use it." Under cover of night, their small team made its way to a hidden launch facility. It had been built decades ago and abandoned when newer, Voidwalker-enhanced facilities were constructed. The equipment was old but functional, maintained in secret by engineers who shared Martinez's distrust of alien technology. "It will take us 3 days to reach the lunar depot," Karen explained as they prepared the old rocket. "These engines are primitive compared to what we've been using." "The Voidwalkers will detect us once we launch," Sam warned. They'll try to stop us. John nodded. That's why we need a distraction. Martinez, is your team ready? The general nodded. My forces will attack Voidwalker landing sites in 3 locations. We won't win, but we'll keep them busy. As they made final preparations, Zix approached John. Your people still have a chance, the alien said. The Voidwalkers are efficient, but arrogant. They believe themselves unbeatable because no species has ever overcome their strategy before. We'll be the first, John said with determination. Humans are stubborn that way. The launch countdown began. Around the world, Martinez's forces launched their attacks, drawing Voidwalker attention away from the old facility. The rocket engines roared to life, technology from humanity's past carrying their hopes into the future. As they broke through the atmosphere, John looked back at Earth, parts of it already darkened as the aliens shut down power systems. The beautiful blue planet was under siege because its people had been too proud, too eager for advancement to heed the warnings that had been right in front of them. We'll get those ships, he promised quietly. And then we'll show the Voidwalkers that humans don't go quietly to extinction. The journey to the lunar depot took longer than expected. Twice they had to change course to avoid Voidwalker patrols. Their old rocket had no advanced cloaking technology, just basic stealth systems that relied on minimal energy signatures and careful timing. When they finally reached the moon, they found the depot untouched. The Voidwalkers had ignored it, considering the old ship stored there too primitive to be a threat. 5 vessels still operational, Karen reported after checking the systems. Basic weapons, minimal shielding, but they'll fly. Dr. Gregory Allen, a weapons specialist who had joined the resistance early, examined the radiation technology Zix had described. I think we can modify these ships to emit the radiation frequency that harms the Voidwalkers, but we'll need to get very close to their main vessels for it to work. How close? John asked. Inside their defensive shields, Gregory replied. Essentially, we need to ram them. The team fell silent. They all understood what that meant. A suicide mission. Michelle Rivera, an experienced pilot who had refused. Voidwalker enhancements for her flight system, stepped forward. I'll fly the lead ship. I've studied their flight patterns. I know how to get through. While they prepared the ships, news from Earth grew worse. The Voidwalkers had dropped all pretense of friendship. Their harvest ships landed in major cities, and reports described people being taken aboard. The aliens targeted the healthiest humans first, particularly those who had received their medical treatments. General Martinez's forces fought bravely, but were overwhelmed. His last message came through on an old military frequency. We've held them back as long as we could. The rest is up to you. Show these aliens that humans don't surrender. Zix worked with Dr. Allen to perfect the radiation weapon. My people discovered this too late, the alien said. Our civilization was already fallen, but humans still have fighting forces, and more importantly, you still have hope. 3 days later, their small fleet was ready. 5 old ships, modified with radiation emitters and loaded with what remained of humanity's free fighters. The plan was simple but desperate. Michelle would pilot the lead ship directly into the Voidwalker command vessel, while the others targeted key ships in the Harvest fleet. As they prepared to launch, John gathered the team. Earth is under enemy control. Our governments have fallen. But humanity isn't defined by our cities or our leaders. It's defined by our spirit, our refusal to give up even when everything seems lost. Olivia added, the Voidwalkers think they've won because their strategy has always worked before. They give advanced technology to civilizations eager for progress. Wait until dependency is complete, then take control of those systems. But they've never faced humans before. Sam nodded. We're stubborn. We keep old things around. We question authorities. Even when most of us followed along, some of us held back. That diversity of thought might save our species. They launched toward Earth, their small fleet barely a match for even one of the massive Voidwalker ships. But they had surprise on their side, and a weapon the aliens didn't expect. As they approached Earth orbit, they saw the full extent of the invasion. Hundreds of alien ships surrounded the planet. Harvest operations were underway on every continent. Michelle's voice came over the communication system. "I've identified the command ship. It's the largest one, in geosynchronous orbit over New Washington. All ships prepare to engage," John ordered. "Remember, you need to get past their shields for the radiation emitters to work." The 5 ships accelerated toward Earth. At first, the Voidwalkers didn't even notice them, dismissing the old vessels as space debris. By the time they recognized the threat, the human ships were already among them. Michelle aimed her ship directly at the command vessel's bridge. The Voidwalkers activated defensive systems, but they were designed to counter their own advanced weapons, not the simple brute force approach of a human ship on a collision course. Her ship smashed through the outer defenses and embedded itself in the command vessel's hull. The radiation emitter activated, flooding the alien ship with the frequency that disrupted their cellular structure. Across the battlefield, the other human ships did the same, ramming Voidwalker vessels and activating their emitters. Some were destroyed before they reached their targets, but 3 made it through. Inside the command ship, Spokesman Krell felt his cells beginning to break down as the radiation spread. He had never imagined the humans would sacrifice themselves like this. None of the species they had harvested before had shown such determination. On the surface of Earth, the effect was immediate. Voidwalkers collapsed as the radiation reached them through their connected ships. Their carefully coordinated harvest operations fell into chaos. Human resistance fighters, who had been waging a losing battle, suddenly found themselves facing a disorganized enemy. They seized the opportunity, reclaiming ground and freeing captured humans. John's ship had targeted the Voidwalker's main communication hub. As he piloted toward it, he opened a channel to all human frequencies still operating. "This is Captain John Miller. The Voidwalkers are vulnerable to the radiation we're deploying. Their control systems are failing. If you can fight back, do it now." His ship crashed into the communication hub, the impact throwing him against the controls. Pain shot through his body, but he reached forward and activated the radiation emitter with his last strength. Across Earth and throughout the solar system, Voidwalker technology began to fail as the aliens lost their connection to their command structure. The ships that could still function retreated, trying to escape the spreading radiation. In the smoking ruins of New Washington, Dr. Grant helped coordinate the human counterattack. The Voidwalkers' carefully planned harvest had turned into a desperate retreat. "They're running," someone shouted as another alien ship lifted off. "Not all of them will escape," Dr. Grant said, watching the vessels struggling to flee, "and they'll carry a message back to their kind. Earth is not an easy target." In the days that followed, humans began the difficult process of rebuilding. Much of their infrastructure was damaged or controlled by now useless alien technology. They would have to start again with their own systems, their own innovations. 6 months later, at a memorial service for those who had sacrificed themselves, Paul Bennett, who had survived the attack on Europa, addressed the gathered crowd. "We lost much in this war. Our cities, our advanced technology, and worst of all, many of our people. The price of our pride was terribly high. We welcomed the Voidwalkers because they offered us an easy path to the stars. We ignored the warnings because we wanted to believe we were special, different from other species they had encountered." He looked out at the faces watching him, survivors who had learned the hardest of lessons. "But in our darkest hour, we found our greatest strength, not in alien technology or quick advances, but in our human spirit. Our stubborn refusal to surrender, our willingness to sacrifice for each other. The Voidwalkers thought they understood us, but they missed the most important thing about humans. We learn from our mistakes." He gestured to where Zix stood with other survivors. "And we make loyal friends who stand with us even when the situation seems hopeless." As the ceremony ended, a young technician approached Dr. Grant with urgent news. "We've detected something at the edge of our solar system. It appears to be an alien probe." Earth's new United Defense Council gathered quickly. On their screens, they saw a small, smooth object, not unlike the one the Trailblazer had discovered years before. "It's broadcasting a message," the technician said. "It claims to be from a peaceful species offering friendship and advanced technology." The council members looked at each other. Then, as one, they began to laugh. "Tell them thank you," the council chair said, "but we prefer to advance at our own pace." The probe was politely but firmly escorted back to the edge of the solar system. Humanity had learned its lesson. The warnings had been clear the first time. They wouldn't need them again.